Well, good morning, brethren.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is so pleasant to be in the house of the Lord. You know, yesterday had a little rain, and some people been saying it's miserable, it's awful. And Rosetta and I encountered someone in the grocery store, and they were saying this thing. We say, every day is a beautiful day.
Yeah.
You know, it's a privilege that we have. We can meet in public. And this morning, I must say, this is like a double whammy. Last couple of weeks, I prepared my today's sermon, and I was given opportunity to give a sermonette. So what I did, I took the short version, so that I had to research. And I put everything in the hands of the Lord, and I have a prayer warrior in the back, Teresa. And most of you are praying so that Stephen will be on time and will bring a timely message. This morning, the title of my message today is, It's Your Time.
Amen.
And your time, and your time.
Amen.
And I want to start with a story this morning. For more than 40 years, the church custodian known as Mr. John offered his fix-it skills to help others in a small Florida town. He and his wife Laverne, the church secretary, were the town's go-to Samaritan. They didn't have much, but they were the people to call if you needed your car repairs, if you needed your kids to have clothes, or if you had some fence to be mended. Then suddenly, the tables turned. A few years after Mr. John and Laverne retired from their church jobs, a fire broke out in the old wood frame cottage. Half of their home was destroyed. Before the couple could salvage whatever was left of their belongings, thieves broke in. They ripped out the copper fixtures and flooded what was left of the house, destroying everything. There wasn't enough insurance money to rebuild. Times were hard for everyone. And of course, the recession had left many in their town unemployed, struggling to get by. Mr. John and Laverne didn't want to add to anyone's burden by asking for help. But what they did not realize was that it was their time to reap the rewards of their faith, kindness, and unselfishness after so many years of blessing others. We have several points to ponder. Point number one, God works in mysterious ways and is always on time. Mr. John and Laverne didn't have to ask for help. Friends and neighbors simply showed up one by one. They pitched in, offering money, food, furniture, clothing, and a place to stay. Then a local builder came forward. His business had slowed down some, but he'd done well over the years, building luxury homes. And he never forgot that 20 years earlier, as a teenager, volunteering at his church, he had been taught the basic skills of carpentry by Mr. John himself. Now, he said, I have been waiting all my life to repay him. And so he recruited an architect, roofers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, and people from other trades to build Mr. John and Laverne a brand new home, nearly twice the size of the old one. They donated their time and materials and raised money to pay what the insurance did not cover. When the grateful couple moved into their beautiful new cottage, they called it the house that love built. Leads to point number 2. God has ways when it looks like there are no possibilities. Now, God has put promises in every heart. You have dreams and desires, things you want to accomplish, situations you want to be changed. But so often, you give up on those dreams because you tried and failed, or because you went through disappointment, or somebody did not treat you right. You may have become complacent and are not pursuing what God has put in your heart. Brethren, you can't give up now. I encourage you to get your fire back, which leads to point number 3. You have to stay filled with hope. Things may seem to be taking long, but God is faithful. He is saying, no matter what, or how long it has been, or how impossible it may look, if you stay in faith and hope, your time is coming.
Yeah.
Every dream that's in your heart, every promise that has taken root, God not only puts it there, but has every intention to bring it to pass. I want you to have this type of attitude. Say, my time is coming. I have been given and given, and I haven't seen lots of results. But that's okay. I know my time is coming because God is in control.
Yeah.
And He is always on time. For example, in the book of Ruth, there is the lady called Naomi who goes through a series of losses. Her husband dies. She became distraught. Then her 2 sons are killed in battle. All these negative things hit her. Then she makes the mistake of letting the bitterness get a hold of the inside. She got disappointed with life. Her attitude was, all my dreams have been shattered. Just leave me in my heart's ache and misery. But in the end, when the time came, when her time came, God turned things around. I encourage you to read the book of Ruth. Incredible. Point number 4, just stay in faith. God will get you where you need to be.
Amen.
We have a good example of a man called Simeon. Many of you probably read that story in Luke 5:25 through 35. Simeon was promised to see Christ before he died. God told him that he would not die until he saw Christ. But Simeon did not understand. But he let God's promise take root deep down inside. He didn't tell anyone about God's message. It was just between him and God. Some commentaries said Simeon waited for approximately 20 years. But can you imagine, the older he grew, the more he was tempted to think, I must have heard it wrong. It will never happen. No, Simeon had to do just what I am asking you to do. When those negative thoughts came, he had to shake them off and say, no, my time is coming. The promise is in me. And God put it in my heart, and I will not go to my grave until I see it fulfilled. He rose every morning hoping, believing, expecting that God is faithful. And brethren, in some 20 years, he was blessed to see his time came. And it was fulfilled. Brethren, God speaks to us today, just as he did with Simeon. If Simeon was standing before us today, he would say, don't give up on that promise or that dream. Your time is coming.
Amen.
Brethren, we need to let Simeon's story sink in deep inside. Some of you thought it was over. Some thought you made too many mistakes. You were getting too old. But it's never too late. God says, this is your season.
Amen.
And keep your faith stirred up. Lead to point number 5. I want you to realize that God always keeps his promises. God put a promise in Moses. You remember that dude? That he would deliver the people of Israel. But Moses made a mistake. He killed somebody. And he had to run for his life. Now, during the time that he ran, he was about 40 years old. And it looked like his life was over. But God never aborts a dream. We may give up on it. We may delay it. But the seed that God puts in never dies. All it takes is for us to believe once again. 40 years later, at the age of 80 years old, God came back to Moses and he said, it's your time. Deliver my people from slavery in Egypt. I encourage you too to read that story in Exodus. Some of you probably saw the 10 Commandments not too long ago. Very interesting. I have a couple of more inserts. Take a man like Joseph. After 13 years of being done wrong, Joseph saw his time came. And what about the guy, Peter? The scenario was in Matthew 14, verse 26, 31. I'm not going to go all there. But Peter saw in the storm, Jesus was walking on the water. And he with enthusiasm jump up. And he said, Lord, bid me come to you. And Peter walked out on the water. But what happened to the other disciples? How come they did not make that decision to walk? Peter had being led by the Spirit to believe that his time was now. But you know the rest of the story. And I think we all have that weakness. We jump up with enthusiasm and the spirit of zeal, and then we realize, wait a minute, I can't walk on water. But with Christ in the vessel, we all can laugh at the storm. Brethren, in closing, you may have made mistakes. Maybe you have blown it. Or some good opportunities. Join the crowd. Which one of us have not had an obstacle in the way? We all have our failures and faults. But the good news is, God never disqualifies us. God never writes us off. If we walk with God, he will walk with us. And don't forget, he always keeps his promises and is always on time. Brethren, join me. I'd like to close with a short prayer. Great God, you have blessed us here today, and I am only the messenger. And we know, dear Father, that you love us, and you are always with us in the valley, on the hilltop, and on the mountain. And we ask you, dear Lord, to put it in our heart to increase you and let us decrease. We thank you for the privilege to be giving you praise out here today with our brethren. So bless each and every one of us. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.